All right. Hi and hello, everyone. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you are doing well. It's time for our weekly track roundup, where I give you guys my thoughts, my feelings, my strongly held beliefs on a bunch of tracks that have dropped over the past week or so. They're all linked down below. Our Turntable Lab link is also linked down below. We get kickback from it if you happen to use it to get some records, some record players, some speakers, whatever supports the channel when you use it to support your music addiction. Also, our Patreon page is linked down below. Get some extra bonus monthly content while supporting us in the process over there. Access to the Discord community too. And Shorts page on YouTube, good short form content over there, and theneedledrop.com regularly updated with reviews, with features, with news items. Check that out too. Would appreciate it if you do. And a quick shout out that comes by way of AUSTEN, Venturing, Dead Forever, and other singles. On Valentine's Day, Jane Remover is dropping a new album under the name Venturing. There's currently an EP's worth of singles out there from the project, which AUSTEN says are pretty much must listens for anyone who has messed with Jane's more rock-oriented music, especially Census Designated. Yes, and also shouting out the Venturing Arizona EP from a couple of years ago, if that slipped through the cracks for you. So again, a little bit of a feature and shout out over here by way of AUSTEN. We'll be looking forward to that release myself as well. All right, worst tracks of the week. They are as follows. We have a few. One of them being the Spin Doctors. They're back. The Docs. Us Spinners, the Spinners being hardcore Spin Doctor fans, are excited to have the Docs back, but I'm not crazy about this track. The lyrics are so bad. Oh my God. What happened to walking around with a pocket full of kryptonite? What happened to being funky? Scuddy-ba-dip? This is just like really bad butt rock. I don't know. This is just bad bar rock. I don't quite get it. And who made this cover art? This is like just bad just concept art. It doesn't even feel like genuine actual cover art. And it's like a bad Shel Silverstein drawing. Anyway, yeah, terrible track. Unfortunate that things have fallen this far for the Doctors. Moving on from there, NLE Choppa teaming up with Imagine Dragons. Dare You is the title of the song. That goes about as well as you could possibly imagine, which is not well at all. All right. And finally, Central C teams up with another great British rapper. That would be Mr. 21 Savage on this new track over here, GBP. And yeah, of course, it's mid. Central C continues to gain momentum and popularity despite just being so underwhelming and average in every way that you could possibly imagine. It's just whatever. All right, moving on from there. Meh. The tracks that I thought were just kind of okay, they are as follows. One, Mr. Tim Hecker has a new, I want to say like soundtrack extras only project on the way titled Shards. Tim Hecker, wonderful ambient and drone and instrumental music artist, has for years also contributed works to any number of soundtracks. And apparently this upcoming album is just, sort of like tracks that have come from those projects, those works, but maybe didn't quite make it, were sort of left over from those sessions, those efforts. This track over here, Sunset Key Melt, has a lot of atmosphere to it. Maybe too much for my taste, to the point where anything musically going on is a little too washed out. However, given that the intent behind it may have been to sort of accompany something else, maybe it's not supposed to be doing too much to, steal your attention to the forefront per se. It is very moody. It is very spacey. There are definitely some pretty bits of this track, and it is worth checking out due to the fact that it is crafted by one of the best ambient music artists of all time. All right, moving on from there, we have Sharon Van Etten and the band she has recently attached herself to, formally in name on this forthcoming album, The Attachment Theory. Trouble is the name of the track. And yeah, it's just kind of like a spacey, moody rock song. It sort of feels like if you could take a 90s radio rock track, but make it more repetitive and spacier, it's just kind of okay. That doesn't really leave a strong impression on me, honestly. Moving on from there, though, we also have none other than Oklou and Bladee teaming up on this track, Take Me by the Hand. And it sort of sounds, vaguely like some futuristic internet pop, but there's not really a strong chorus, in my opinion, that comes out of it. Both performances from each artist on the track vocally, to my ears, are pretty underwhelming. It's definitely not as bold as some of Blade's latest project stuff, that's for sure. All right, and Logic, Bobby Logic, has suddenly dropped a new EP. Aquarius EP, a handful of tracks on this thing. One in particular is French Dispatch. And once again, he is on his, I'm working on myself. I'm not drinking as much as I was at one point. I'm chilling with my family grind. That's what he raps about these days. That is his thing. And that's pretty much what he is engrossed in on this track over a somewhat punchy jazz rap beat. It is okay. It's fine. It's all right. It's not mind blowing. It's passable. Okay, and we also have a passable track from none other than Jungle. Keep Me Satisfied is the name of the cut. And it sort of sounds like almost like a funk soul disco blend from the 70s that somebody else would sample for another album or something like that. It's got, that vintage dance sheen to it, like many Jungle singles typically do. I don't know. There's not really much to say about it beyond that, in my opinion. Maybe it's not so much my cup of tea these days. All right, we have Imperial Triumphant with their forthcoming album Gold Star. They have a track out featuring Tomas of Meshuggah, and Lexington Delirium is the name of the track. And it is some harsh, insane, just pummeling prog metal that is just beyond imagination, but also like beyond comprehension in some points, to a fault, really. I mean, the bass sort of sounds like it's tuning up for another song entirely half the time. The ending is mind blowing, though. So I guess you kind of take the good with the bad. I'm going to leave it there. I'm pretty excited for this project, though, as Imperial Triumph tends to be one of the more out there and challenging metal bands on the scene today, point blank, period. We have a new one over here as well from John Glacier featuring Sampha, Ocean Steppin. If you're looking for some low-key rapping over some moody UK two-step grooves with a very light Sampha feature on the back end, then give this track a spin. I wouldn't say it's like mind-blowing or, really demanding my attention or anything, but it's a vibe for sure. It's definitely a vibe. All right, best tracks of the week. They are as follows. Here we go. Remember, everything linked down below. We have this crazy new crossover of a track with Girl Talk, TPain, and Yaeji, Believe in Ya. It's kind of a dancey banger with some wild loops. TPain is going full auto-tune, sounding insane. And Yaeji's verse on the track is genuinely really cute. Totally unforeseen crossover again, but it somehow works despite, each artist here coming from a very different direction with their own sound and their own music. All right, moving on from there. Shout out to an artist that I'm just finding out based off of this track over here. I'm really looking forward to their forthcoming album. Saya Gray, Shell of a Man is the name of this track. And it's like almost like this blend of art pop and country at the same time. It's like a very odd ballad with some beautiful but simultaneously somewhat unsettling vocals. There's something about it that feels so rustic and so nostalgic, but simultaneously there's something very weird and experimental and off-putting about it too that I really mess with. I'm definitely looking forward to hearing more great tracks in the lead up to this album, that's for sure. All right, moving on from there. Perfume Genius is also giving us, surprisingly, some track that is a little, a track. Can I learn to talk? Perfume Genius is giving us a new song. A new record, in fact. It's a Mirror is the title of the song. And one of the greatest songwriters and voices out there on the indie circuit is hitting it in a way where it's a little folksy. It's guitar driven. There are elements of it that feel a little Neil Young, REM-esque as well, especially on the vocals. And for Mike Hadrius, whose music is typically very wondrous and produced in such a way to where it just feels very grandiose, larger than life, is sounding fantastic in this much more stripped down and Intimate State on this new track, which has me very much looking forward to this new album. Again, it's a beautiful, it's a beautiful track, beautiful cut, great guitar-driven cut with some interesting guitar work on it. And yeah, I think Mike's voice works great against the acoustic guitar, against that acoustic six string. Nice change of pace, going back to basics a little bit on this one. I like it. All right, we have the only Lucy Dacus, Ankles and Limerence, 2 new tracks from her forthcoming album, both of which tell very different stories. Very different stories. One of which is where she's the most interesting of the two, in my opinion, where she's afraid to tell this person that she wants to break up with them and she doesn't want to break their heart. And, you know, she's kind of going back and forth between what's better, the lie or the truth. You know, they both sort of hurt in some way. The other track has almost like a kind of an old world Victorian feel to it, to the pianos and everything. It's very much a dainty theatrical sort of ballad with some beautiful poetry to it. There's a lot of range between these two tracks, and they're both beautiful songs. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what other bases Lucy covers on this forthcoming album, considering how varied these two cuts are and how good they both are. We have Horsegirl, who is just going full raw, meditative, almost like krautrocky indie rock on the tracks and singles to their forthcoming album. Switchover is the latest of them and is also hypnotic, is also groovy. I also love the way their vocals meld together in sort of a relaxed and very entrancing way. Shout out to Horsegirl, really killing it on these new cuts. Also, Gates of Hell. If you're looking for some deathcore that's actually kind of creative and wild and experimental and out there, with a nutty performance, absolutely nutty performance on this track. I love specifically this one spot where the band, before the breakdown, sort of slows down to the breakdown, like the riffs and the drums are synced up, but tempo wise, they kind of like all in unison slow down a little bit. They sort of like have a gradually slowing tempo, and then the breakdown hits, and it's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely nuts. It's a blistering track that is totally relentless, totally badass, and really looking forward to this album. Death Comes to All. I mean, that's a fact if I ever heard one. So, all right. And also shout out to Baths, who I think has really nailed it on this new single over here titled Eden. It's a great combination of beat music and psychedelic pop and art pop. The vocals are going crazy. The percussive noises that are worked into the instrumental are very organic and odd and almost have like an ASMR sort of quality on the ears. It's very interesting. Little home production from an artist who has been doing their thing for years and years and years and years and years and years at this point. You can really hear like the skill that goes into the details of this instrumental. Baths is a veteran of the game at this point, and you can most definitely tell from all the details and just all the layers and all of the special little packages and bits and nooks and crannies of this song. All right, again, that is linked down below with everything else that I mentioned. Weekly track roundup. Anthony Fantano, thank you for watching. I'll get my brain fixed and my lips and my mouth fixed and make sure that they're all working in unison very soon. And I will see you guys in the next video. Anthony Fantano, weekly tracks forever.